Once you get to that tipping point where you've built that momentum and now you're continuously like, okay, great, what do I do next? Then you can push that rock down the hill, and that's when the momentum starts. And that's what most people don't understand. You have to get started to have momentum.
All right, guys, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders podcast, where today it's going to be high voltage energy exercise. And if you're a fatty like me, then pay attention. No, that's not a nice way to say this. We're going to start off. And oh, yes, my fatitarians, all the fatty people. No. So actually, we want to talk about health and wellness today. It's very important that you balance health and wellness and fitness and activity with your life. If you're an entrepreneur, we tend to be a little sluggish. If you're building a business, you tend to not sleep well or eat well or take care of your health. It's just a common problem among people. And I've seen a trend and a rise in the last few years of my friends, even myself, getting in tune with their bodies and their life and their framework and things that they're doing. And it's very important for health and wellness and your mindset that you approach it in such a way where you are balancing out your business and your hustle and grind mentality with your health and wellness. Because they say, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. And there's a reason for that, guys. So your hustle and grind mindset is not something you need to be into if your health and wellness is suffering. So I got a guest here today who probably knows that, definitely knows that better than me because the dude's super buff. But I want him to talk today about, and to you, for those of you listening, pay attention about how important it is for your mind and your body and your health and your leadership and all the things we're going to talk about today to focus on this episode if you need to lose 10 pounds. If you need to lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, if you need to get more fitness and activity. So is that good, Cliff? Should I keep going? Is that a good intro for you, man?
No, that's great. It's great. If you need to lose 10 pounds, I can give you the steps to take and you can run with it on your own. If you need to lose 20 or more pounds, then you should reach out to me because it's going to take a lot more than what you think it's going to do.
Oh, ask me how I know. So you and I were just talking about this the other day, right? I am on my own journey to stop being a hypocrite in terms of my life and weight, and actually took control of it in April. And we can go into some of that. We can go into what you're doing because I'm sort of the person you're talking to, I think, in this call today in regards to how to transition past mindset issues or physical issues or just life issues and family issues. And I know some of you are got W-2s and you're working 80 hours a week and you're like, well, how am I supposed to do that on top of family and life? Let's talk about how do we lose 10 pounds with all of those obstacles in our way, Cliff. How do we do that?
Well, first off, you have to understand the mindset of this. Most people think all they need is a diet and all they need is a meal or workout plan, and they'll be able to lose the weight. But if you were to go to Google right now and type in weight loss, you're going to get between 3 to 4 billion with a B results in less than 0.1 seconds.
Yes, that's so true.
And
could they all be right?
Yeah, and 73% of the United States is overweight. So if all you needed was a meal plan and a workout, then why is 73% of the country overweight? See, this
valid is valid question.
Valid question. So this is why the first thing that we do is we help you have an identity shift. You have to start believing you're a fit, strong, and healthy person versus I can't do it. I've tried before in the past. I've never been able to keep the weight off of yo dieting. It's because you don't believe in yourself. And here's the quick thing. Most people say, I need to change my habits. You probably said this when you first started your weight loss journey. If I can change my habits, I'll be able to lose the weight. Well, here's the reason why most people cannot change your habits. Because number one is your thoughts create your beliefs. Your beliefs create your actions create your habits, and your habits create your lifestyle. Now, in those 5 different things I said, where was habits at? Number 4. So your thoughts create your beliefs, create your actions, create your habits. The first 3 numbers are all about your belief and your mindset and visualizing that you can make these changes. And then you have to do it in your mind, then you do it in real life. So if you don't believe you can, you're right. If you believe you can, you're right. So you have to make sure that you start off believing that it can be done. And you need to have someone there that will hold you accountable, because not every day is going to be a walk in the park and sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be a lot of days that suck. I was telling Neil the other day, I sit in the parking lot sometimes at the gym scrolling on my phone because I don't want to go inside. And I've been working out for over 30 years.
Those are new or struggling with that even greater. Like the other day it was hot. It's like 88 degrees. here in the Midwest, and I knew I needed to mow the lawn, and I knew that if I used the power mower, that was going to be the lazy outcome because I still needed my steps. I'm trying to hit 8 to 10,000 steps a day. Right now, I'm averaging about 8,900 steps a day,
Right.
which, as I did the math and I read this thing the other day, that's 70 marathons in a year. So, guys, if you want to walk 70 marathons in a year, do about 10,000 steps a day. I didn't even do the math on that until the other day, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, that's a lot of walking, but I didn't want to do it. It was hot. I was coming up with every freaking excuse possible to not go out. And I was going to push mow the lawn up in the front area we have here. Now, I've got to mow like 7 acres, so I can't push mow 7 acres. That's insane.
No.
But the area I can mow up and around all the house and out to about an eighth of an acre could be pushed. And what happens is I get about 7,000 steps when I do that. But I will tell you, man, everything in me was fighting against that. Everything. From just getting out the door to putting on the clothes to just, it was a mind war. Like, it was a battlefield in my mind. And that was it. There was no physical reason not to do it.
Yep.
So how do I get past that? I know how I got it. How do you get coach people?
All right. So it's a catch-22. You don't have any energy because you don't work out. And if you don't want to work out, you're not going to have any energy. And
it's just vicious cycle.
It is. It's a vicious cycle. And most people, here's what they do. They sit on the couch, they grab a remote, and we're like, I really should work out, but I'm going to watch this show. And they wait for motivation to hit them like a lightning bolt. And all of a sudden they're ready to get up and go. But here's the biggest problem with that. Motivation will never hit you. You're going to be waiting for the rest of your life for motivation to strike, because it usually takes something to change. And unfortunately, you've heard of the carrot and the stick. Usually it's the stick that causes people to get up and move. And that can be one of many things. You go to the doctor and all of a sudden you come home with all of these prescriptions that you never had before. But that's not even enough for some people. Maybe you have a friend or a family member. I had my father pass away at 56. So that lit the fire under me. And it's all about, like, very rarely will you find someone who just woke up one day and was like, that's it, I got to make a change. I need to do better, without having a negative influence. Sometimes you make a deal with, let's say, your spouse, and they're like, well, if you do this, then I'd have a friend that wants to have a baby. So her husband told her, if you hit this business goal, then we can have a baby. So that's what motivated her.
That's a crazy kind of motivation. Whatever works for you.
Hey, that's it. It's whatever motivates you, whatever gets you going, because you just have to get started. And once you get started and you start changing the way that you eat, you start drinking more water, you start sleeping, you're going to start to feel better. Your skin's going to clear up. You're going to start to look better. You're going to have more energy. And then all of these things, you're like, okay, well, what else can I do? I'm going to stop drinking soda. Cool. Now you feel even better. You have less gut issues. And then, okay, great. Now I'm going to eat better food. I'm going to go to sleep earlier. And you start to see you're now pushing that little rock up the hill slowly. And as you push it slowly, you start to see more and more different changes in your body, how you feel, and then how you look in the mirror. And then once you get to that tipping point where you've built that momentum and now you're continuously like, okay, great. What do I do next? Then you can push that rock down the hill, and that's when the momentum starts. And that's what most people don't understand. You have to get started to have momentum, because it's not just going to hit you.
It's one of those things where, you have to look at it from, here's what happened to me. I'm going to just say my own thing, because I don't want to preach to somebody about this. I'm just going to tell my own story in this way, because I have battled with this up and down thing for years, for 48 years.
You're not alone.
It's a mental battle. I'm not going to ever be done with it. I think what I finally reconciled was I am personally never going to be done with that battle. I have to call out what my problem is. I've been addicted to food in an emotional capacity. I have a very codependent relationship with food emotionally. And when I finally named it and finally said, okay, that is my problem to overcome. That is my mental fight. That's my battleground, right? Then I was the person who just woke up on April 3rd and said, no more. That's it. I'm done. I'm going to fight this battle in a different way. And personally, I'm down 28.5 pounds this morning.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Since April. Yeah. So I'm now halfway to my goal, which is kind of weird. I'm there. And I just know now that it is just a matter of time and habit to continue doing that. And now I'm not, people are just going to say that I'm dieting, because I have done that in the past and did Weight Watchers, and I failed. I went down and I went back up. I have gotten emotionally challenged and gained 300 up to 320 pounds at one point in my life due to all the emotional issues. And then I lost that weight. So it's not that I don't know how to do it. It's that I didn't know how to do it consistently. And at the end, it wasn't some magic pill, some diet, some miraculous thing. It was me just reading a moment in time. And thankfully, it wasn't some big medical issue,
Yeah.
right? That was like, hey, you got to do this or you're dead in 5 years. It wasn't that because I've actually got really strong blood work. But the end result was I just said no more. I just stopped. I just said enough. Sometimes you just hit a wall. I just woke up and I'm like, enough.
Yeah.
Like, this is enough. And I got mad. I remember getting mad. I was like, I'm mad. I want to punch something. Like, I want to do this differently. So for you, you got to meet somebody in process, don't you? You got to meet them in that moment where they're ready to accept change, right? I mean, isn't that really how it gets done?
Yeah. I mean, I meet a lot of people before they're even conscious of they are looking to make a change. Like
Yeah.
they will blame the dryer for shrinking their clothes when it's actually the refrigerator that's shrinking
That's
their
not
clothes.
fair, Nat.
Well,
I've never done that.
but what I'm saying is like people, I try to put content out there. I try to make myself well known so people see who I am. They see the life that I lead. They know that
Yeah.
I'm just not talking to hear myself talk to get a sale. They know that
Yeah.
I'm 100% built in and bought into the fact that the reason why I started my business is to keep families together because my dad died. So they
Yeah.
know who I am, and that's why I want to help people, not just to make money. But
Yeah.
this whole fact of the matter is like when you were saying that you were addicted to food, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that are addicted to food. And I'm a recovered alcoholic, so I know what it's like to be addicted to something. But the most difficult thing to be addicted to is food because I can
Yeah.
make a decision that says, I will never touch another drop of alcohol again. And I did that over
Never
10
call.
years ago. But
Yeah.
you have to eat in order to stay alive. You just
Correct.
have to try to keep it in a balanced situation, whereas you don't go too far. Or there's some people they will come back and not eat enough because they're never happy with the way that they look. So when you have
Yeah.
those food eating or eating disorders or disordered eating, I should say,
Yeah.
it's more difficult because you find solace and comfort in the food. And what I've found over the years is working with people is unintentionally, our parents conditioned us for things like that. So
Yeah.
imagine like when we were kids, they used to have like parties at Chuck E. Cheese or ice cream, or
Oh,
you go to
yeah. Food's
McDonald's
interesting,
for a
right?
Big Mac or a Happy Meal, and you
Yeah.
did something good. Let's say you got straight A's in school, or you had the game winning touchdown, or you hit a home run, or whatever it was. And as a reward, your parents took you to one of these places. So you condition that in your youth that this is a place that I can go to that it makes me feel good. It makes me remember all the things I did with my family and made me feel special. So as we get older, when life gets stressful, I don't know why I can't stop going to the drive-thru. I don't know why I can't stop eating pizza. I eat ice cream. It's
Yeah.
my go-to. I don't know why. If you stop and think back onto it, it's because you were conditioned that when you feel good, when your parents are celebrating you, a lot of the time these are the foods that you get emotionally attached to because it takes you back to that time when you felt good about yourself if you're going through a hard time right now. And
Yeah.
our parents did it because they wanted to reward us. But if you stop and think about how their actions were, I have a dog, and if I train my dog, I give my dog a treat, and that teaches them to do this over and over again. So they were unintentionally training us to reward ourselves with food as opposed
Mhm.
to like what we do with the dog. So you have to be
Yeah.
careful of that moving forward. And that's what I see
Yeah.
with a lot of people, why they can't stop binge eating or going to these places that they know that they should not be going to eat.
Yeah. It is so hard. And that food has so much in it that it makes it sort of addictive. I've come to realize that our
Mhm.
food has become engineered and it makes some of the food very addictive. This is entertainment purposes only, just so we get the disclosure out there for other places. And I might be making this up completely, or this could be all just total misinformation. But I did learn thing the other day about there being about 1,300 different DNA strains in one McDonald's quarter pounder.
Oh, wow.
So allegedly, again, this might just be a conspiracy here, but I saw the report the other day. So University of Nebraska, right?
I didn't hear about
Um,
that, but I'll look it up now.
yeah, it just came out yesterday. University of Nebraska. They tracked back a hamburger that had 1,300 different DNA strains. So if you don't understand where your food's coming from and you understand the possibilities, allegedly, that it might be engineered with chemicals and other things to make you addicted to it, then you come to realize that there's two battles in my mind. There is don't eat the food that might make you addicted.
Mhm.
And the other one is to get off the food that is not healthy, not good, not nutritious. It may be fast, maybe convenient, but it's actually just a death sentence.
It is.
Really, at the end of the day, it's a death sentence. I mean, we need to eat to live, but we don't live. We live to eat, but we don't have to eat to live. Is that the saying? I got it wrong. But it's something about we have to eat to live, but you shouldn't live to eat.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that it? Yeah. It is so true at the end of the day, because I've now just seen food as fuel. And I've now finally gotten 4 months into this process where I start to see food as just a part of the power I'm using to keep the energy up and move forward. And I stop seeing food as a crutch of emotional connectivity. I need this. I want this. I deserve this. Like, I finally broke that habit. And that's what I've been trying to do for so many years.
That's awesome.
And I think it was just the right time. I think I just finally accepted it. I was just in the right place mentally to say, okay, I got my check and balance right. And it's taken me a long time to get there, dude.
Yeah.
How do people get there faster?
Well, okay, so think of it this way. You were talking about how food chemically addicts you. Well, there's something called the bliss ratio. You can look it up. Big Pharma spends billions of dollars every year to make hundreds of billions of dollars. Technically,
the bliss ratio.
It's the perfect ratio of sugar, fat, and salt that chemically addicts you to the food, because it makes everything so hyper palatable that you want to eat those because it tastes so good, versus if you eat an apple or something else, it doesn't taste nearly as good. So you don't want it.
Yeah.
So when you're hungry, your body wants one of 6 things. Water, because you're mostly dehydrated. Most people don't even realize it. Then it wants proteins, carbs, and fats, which are your macronutrients. Then it wants your vitamins and your minerals, which are your micronutrients, your fruits and your vegetables. But if you are chemically addicted to these foods, let's say you like potato chips. I like potato chips. I can eat a big family bag in like 30 minutes easily.
Right?
But at the same time, if I gave you 5 large baked potatoes and put them on the kitchen table and gave you a fork, would you be able to eat that in 30 minutes?
No, it's so dry, you wouldn't be able to choke it down with enough water or anything, or soda or anything.
But with the right ratio of sugar, fat, and salt, and deep fry them, those 5 potatoes are equal to what's in a family-sized bag of potato chips. And I can polish it off so very quickly. And here's the problem. Those are designed to be calorically dense, but nutritionally poor. And they're designed to metabolize very quickly through your body. So when you are hungry, you reach for the chips. Let's say, I don't want to talk about the names because of the different companies, because I don't want to get in trouble, or you.
Allegedly.
If you
don't get me in trouble, man.
I'm not going to. But if you look at some of the slogans, you're going to see that they're actually telling you that they're going to addict you to the food. But if you look at it this way, you eat them in an hour, you're hungry again. And it's because you haven't got the nutrients that your body's asking you for. See, your body can't tell you, hey, Neil, I need iron, I need vitamin K, I need vitamin E.
Right.
It can't do that. It just tells you I'm hungry, and it's up to you, being an adult, to know what you're supposed to eat to give it that nutrients. And then if you eat the right things, let's say you don't eat the right things and you go to Chipotle or you go to Chick-fil-A, which are what people call the healthier fast foods. And if you pick the right things on the menu, it can be. But you're going to eat that, and then you're going to be hungry again in 2 hours because you're not getting the nutritional value. But if you ate, let's say, a baked potato, broccoli, and a steak, your body's going to have that cutoff signal. And it's not going to tell you that I'm hungry anymore. You're going to give it all the nutrients that it needs, and you're going to be full for a couple of hours. Versus if you go and eat the potato chips, you go eat fast food, and you want something else, and your body's always telling you that I'm hungry. It's not that you're hungry. It's missing the nutrients, and it's telling you to give it to them. So that's why when people say that I've been grazing all day long, I can't stop eating, it's because you're not eating food with nutritional value in it.
So true. And then they say, well, that's the tactic to lose weight, but it actually is. And I eat roughly 3 to 5 times a day. I'm eating now closer to 200 grams of protein every day. I keep my fat under 60 grams. And my carbs, I just almost have eliminated carbs to some degree. I have roughly 300 or so carbs, 350 carbs I can eat a day, but I end up only eating about 100 of them. So just making different choices and conscientiously making them. I personally tracked everything. I used an app to just go in and start tracking everything and set my macros. And then it's become easier and easier. Weighed all my food so I could start conscientiously seeing what I'm actually eating in quantity instead of just mass, which I was not paying attention to before. And I've just started training this big thing in my head called a muscle. We know as our brain, which I talk to my kids about constantly as we homeschool them to do this, right? And as they've come along, they've actually become my biggest fans now, as they have continued to mention how different I look,
Yeah.
just 28 pounds down.
Because
And I'm like,
now
well, wait till you
dad
get the
looks
next
like a
48 off.
superhero in their living
My
room.
dad's starting to look like he's taking responsibility, doing things, and showing actionable things for my family.
And they get
Absolutely.
to
And my
see it.
wife is in this too,
They get to see a
which is a big
superhero
help.
in their house versus on the TV or in a
Yeah.
movie. So
Yeah.
now you are that,
Yeah.
you're always going to be your kid's first role model. So now they have even more respect and love for you because you are
Feel like
doing
it.
what you're supposed to do now, because you've
Yeah.
always taken care of your family, but now you're taking care of yourself. And that gives them like, okay, cool. If he's doing this, I should do this too, because more is always caught than taught. So that's why
Yeah.
whenever families come to me, they're like, can you work with my kid? Like, I'd rather work with you, and then by default, you transfer this knowledge to your
It
kid.
always starts back with the parents and the family, doesn't it? It
Mhm.
so often does that. They will follow. They want to be led.
Yep.
They just need someone to lead them, and that is a common theme. Thanks for bringing that up, because that's very powerful, I think, in the message here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
My kid's overweight. Well, how are you feeding them? He's always come back. "Oh, I don't want to talk about me. Well, okay, well, then this may be the wrong problem. Let's fix you, and then you could fix your kids. But
Yeah.
my wife has been in this, just to give her credit too. She's 32 pounds down, and she's
Awesome.
been an accountability partner with the both of us. Over 60 pounds or around 60 pounds, I think, right now between the two of us,
Congratulations.
which has been pretty good to do that together and have that accountability. And as I kicked it off, and she's just like, I'll go with you. Let's do it together. And so we've just been in it together. I think that's very important, accountability.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Can you speak on that a little bit in your experience?
Well, accountability, let's put it this way. If you and your wife are doing it together, then that's great. But if one person starts doing it and the other spouse doesn't want to do it,
Yeah.
accountability without permission is like you're attacking that other person. You're forcing them to
Right.
do something that they don't want to do. They dig their
Yeah.
heels in, and now it becomes a fight.
Yeah.
You don't ever want to tell your significant other, especially a man telling his wife, hey, you might not want to eat that. Your butt's too big. You can't fit in those jeans.
Yeah.
That's going to cause a problem. So,
Yeah, you don't probably want to say anything like that to
No.
affect. It probably won't go over very well.
yeah, but as long as you're doing it together and you've made the agreement that you can talk to each other about it, by all means do it. Because I see whether or not you are going to be successful in your health and fitness journey, it really
Yeah.
depends on if you have the buy-in of your spouse or your significant other or not. Because I've seen people get complacent in life and they think that if, let's say that not you, I'm not going to use you as an example, but a couple, let's say that the lady, she starts to get fit and get in shape and the husband doesn't want to, which happens quite frequently. And what ends up happening is he thinks that she's going to start having an affair or she's having an affair. And then he'll start to sabotage and make sure like call ice cream, pizza, stuff like that, because you're not going to trade me in, take half my money and then get an upgrade. So they do stuff
That's
like that.
terrible.
And I've seen it both ways. And
Yeah,
that's the
of
problem
course.
because one
Of course.
person doesn't want to change and the other person wants to, but yet you're growing apart when one person is
Yeah.
growing because they're not
Yeah.
living up to and being the person that you got married to. Now, if it's
Yeah.
a health issue, that's completely different. You got to be there for your spouse. But if you're just being lazy and you don't want it and you're not eating healthy on purpose and you're just not doing anything, that's a problem. You have to take care of that because you made a promise to your spouse that you were going to be there till death do us part. You made a promise to your kids who you wanted to have that they didn't ask to be born, that you should be there to watch your kids play sports, to walk your daughter down the aisle. These are the things that I talk to parents about because it's always, I'm too busy. I don't have time. Okay, cool. Well, my dad was too busy. He didn't have time. He had a government job. He was a GS-14 and he was also an entrepreneur. He had a photography business. He burned the candle on both ends so much to the point that
Yeah.
he ended up having a stroke and
Oh, wow.
it killed him at 56 years old. Like I watched
Wow.
my father, the strongest man who I know, sign a do not resuscitate order because the stroke that he had put him onto a ventilator and he couldn't breathe without it. And he didn't want to spend the rest of his life with being attached to a machine. So when I talk to people about this is the possibility of it happening, it's not a hypothetical situation. I'm telling you the life that I lived through, and I want to spare your children from going through that pain and suffering because as much as I love and I miss my dad, and I'm named after him, so I think of him every time I hear my name, there's a part of me that resents him for not making those changes and not being here because we begged him to make those changes. And I don't want you to ever, not you, but anybody else watching it, your kids to ever have that feeling towards you, even though they're going to love and they're miss you, but they're going to think like, why didn't they make that change? He or she could still be here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. And you want to hope that you can get to a place in life where you'll make that change conscientiously before something real negative impact influences your relationship, your marriage, your spouse, significant other, a death or something. And I think that's the message I would hope anybody listening today would take away from this is kind of the bigger message for today. And listening to you, Clif, is purpose is important. Family is extremely important. And if you can do this with someone, if you can take advantage of that opportunity to do it before some life-changing event maybe stops you from having that time with them or the ability to do it, then you just got to make that change, man.
Yeah.
You just do. It's all it comes down to. You just have to make a choice.
Absolutely.
So powerful. It's such a powerful choice. I personally have felt it, and I'm now on the path. I have had guys, people are like, well, what are you eating, Neil? Just broccoli and cardboard? No, actually, I had some Cold Stone ice cream yesterday in a small quantity. I had a Rice Krispie treat the other day. I've had birthday cake. I'm not eating pizza and gluten and other things. I've substituted all of that. My family already eats that way really holistically anyways. So I'm not a big carb gluten person. We've had to clean up our diet with our kids and talked about this before on the podcast, how we've had to pull out of society and pull out of the food and pull out of the entire environment and flip our pantry upside down and change everything about the way we eat and do our entire life, which has led my kids to be very healthy and my wife to be physically healthy and to me to have the blood work of a 35-year-old. We just have the extra weight because we've eaten too much fat and other things in a better diet. So you could even go the other direction and eat too much of the good stuff and hang on to the weight and not lose it too, which has kind of been my struggle over the last few years, one that I finally got back to. So I'm not into processed foods. I'm not into chemical foods. We don't eat out hardly at all. And if we do, it's very strategic places with only the certain types of foods or clean foods we can eat. And everything is cooked here at our house, even down to organic chicken eggs and duck eggs and grass-fed beef that comes off the cow. So I know it's got one DNA strand. And the way we do life out here in the country has been extremely different, extremely different.
There's two things you said that I'd like to touch on real fast.
Sure, please.
What you first said about your blood work. So what we do with every single one of our clients, we start them off, we do gut health testing to find out what your body likes and what it doesn't like. There's no foods that are off limits in my program, but what we do is we have you do the gut health test, and that will tell you what allergies and tolerances and what foods are good for you. So I'm not telling you what not to eat. Your body's telling you what not to eat, because that will continue to build up inflammation in your body long term if you keep eating the same stuff. Because most people will take Alka-Seltzer, Zantac, what is that stuff? Anything for gas or heartburn or bloating, but then they'll go eat the same foods over again. It's their body telling you to stop eating this stuff. So after we do that, we do blood testing for your hormones, and then also DNA profiling, put you in front of a functional medicine doctor to go over your results so you can see exactly what you need so you can speed up your time frame.
We did the same thing, very powerful, 100% recommend and echo everything you're saying. The kids all got tested. They got tested for genetics. We found out who had the markers 1 to 5 in terms of the threat, if you will. And we were eating duck eggs, and it turns out 3 of the 4 girls, including my wife, can't eat chicken eggs. So we got ducks. Now we eat duck eggs, different protein level, different effect because they can't eat eggs. So it's inflaming to their systems. Now we've learned that. So the blood tests were very powerful to help dial in the kinds of foods, chemicals, and other things they should be eating. The byproduct for us, and again, this is completely conspiracy theory for anybody listening to this, with a total disclaimer for YouTube, was that hypothetically, they removed a lot of problems they used to have. Skin, sleeping, eczema, acne, energy levels through the roof, weight loss just naturally as their body regained its ability to come back to its natural state. Just a whole lot of other things that we could talk about that have occurred with them that had not required any medical attention or any other things to be taken in order for that to occur. So it's been very powerful firsthand witnessing what you put in your mouth can so much impact your health, your mental being, your wellness, and your ability to get around all the other things that we're told we have to take continuously in order to solve the other problems. I'm saying this as generic as I can.
Well, I know where you're going. Is how let's just say if you start doing things that are recommended. You build a house of cards, and the house of cards is in a solid foundation of quicksand, because if one falls, the rest will fall.
Well, you're a subscription, you're a walking subscription, and you only make it more money the older you get.
I call it residual income.
Amazing subscription model, isn't it? It's an amazing subscription model on 2 legs.
Yeah.
But guys, you can change so much about that. If you have any questions and you'd like to know what I'm saying, maybe in private, or of course, do that. If you are interested in more about what Clif's doing, if you need accountability, if you're right at that point where you're starting to make a decision, it's like, it's my time to change, I need to go. If you're with your spouse or significant other and you've been debating this off and on and trying to figure out how to make it work, and you've played the diet game and yin yang stuff, and you really want to make a full difference, talk to my man Clif. Get in line with your mindset, get in line with your eating, get in line with your macros, get in line with your activities, your daily, weekly, monthly stuff with your family. It'll fit in. I mean, we homeschool, I run a business, we do all this. You can do it too, right? If I can lose 30 pounds, you can lose 30 pounds. It is there. Clif, anything else I didn't say or you want to bring up, or something we didn't cover, man?
No, that's going to be it. I mean, we've only had a limited amount of time, but we got a lot of stuff in that short amount of time. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. One final question I always like to ask everybody, just in case we can make something happen. The 6 degrees of separation, right? The old Kevin Bacon deal. Is there somebody I could introduce you to, or we could tag in this conversation when it goes out, that you might want to spend 15 minutes with and have a conversation? Anybody, maybe even in time and space. If they're alive, we might tag them. If they're dead, we'll just play the hypothetical. But is there somebody you would just love to sit down with and have a 15-minute conversation with?
Alan Sultanic.
Alton Sultanic? That one we might be able to pull off.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in his private group, so we'll tag him in the comments and everything out below, and then we'll see if we can make that connection happen.
Yeah, I was actually looking at joining his private group, so awesome. That might be it.
Well, there we go. This might be a match made in heaven.
You go.
Dude. I appreciate you coming on. I'm honored. Thank you for sharing a good word with me today.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you. Have a great day, my friend. Talk to you soon.